Hello everyone and welcome back to the fortuitous return of CBR MTG. We have some Highlander footage on the screen in front of you, ready for your lovely eyes. I'm joined here by James Caesar.
Hey Angus, thanks for having me.
Hey, my absolute pleasure, and of course I'm Angus Mackay. Back after a very long period of not doing any commentary, but we thought we might boot up the old camera setup and see what it looks like. So consider this test footage. A little bit rough around the edges, but yeah, looking forward to watching this game today. So we have on the left Mitch on mono red or reckless red, and then Jude on the right with red green Podgers. So James, you might have seen Mitch's deck around a couple of times. Would you give a brief overview of the deck and how it runs?
Yeah, Mitch is playing a really cool take on mono red and playing 8 points, taking advantage of the accessibility rule to, if you're playing no reserve list cards in your deck, you are entitled to an additional 8th point. So basically looking to be really aggressive, get in under your opponent, and take advantage of just like lots of redundant creatures, or like 2 power 1-drops. It'd be really aggressive here. So Mitch is playing some really good points. Wasteland, Mana Crypt is the 4-point that really helps power the deck out. Skull Clamp, and Ragavan and Urza Saga. So taking advantage and trying to use some artifact synergies there. Yeah. Urza Saga being able to pull the Mana Crypt and the Clamp out, and then taking advantage of some land destruction. So here we see, as we said, Skull Clamp coming out, letting Mitch take advantage of the cheap creatures. But we see Jude over there on the right getting off to an early start with Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer.
Yeah, we're seeing some grouping together of points for both Mitch and Jude, with and we're seeing a sharing of the treasure tokens. But Jude also playing Ragavan as part of their points package. Jude playing a more mid-rangey red-green monsters, I suppose, or just red-green mid-range. But we're really seeing a lot of powerful threats in those 2 colors lately with Ragavan and of course Undermountain Adventurer, Lelia the Bladeforge Fable. This is nothing new for this is all new for our players, because red green is getting that huge boost of power, and you see Jude taking advantage of it with another new card in Delighted Halfling.
Yeah, really impressed by this card so far. It's been being picked up as a better mana dork in a lot of these decks that want to take advantage of early creatures into like a powerful 3-drop, and Delighted Halfling really performing well there, being a 2 toughness creature. Yeah,
that so extra toughness really helping out for sure.
Exactly. So playing around things like Red and 6, which is very popular, as well as the new card from the Lord of the Rings set, Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah. It just really helps these decks kind of take off.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see the Delighted Halfling has made it onto the battlefield without too much worry from Mitch's side. Mitch actually just passing the turn. I think we're basically empty-handed from Mitch's side. We see a couple of cards, but Mitch is really not putting on too much pressure, besides using this Searing Blaze, I believe, to get rid of that Ragavan, which is probably all he needed to do at that point.
Yeah, this is a bit of an unusual start for Mitch. He's on the defensive here. Jude really capitalising with Ragavan off the start. Here we see an excellent play of Eternal Witness, getting back Ragavan, playing it straight away, just keeping that pressure up the entire time. Yeah, putting Mitch really on the back foot here. Yeah,
we've seen Eternal Witness being used throughout the format's history. Essentially, Eternal Witness being very popular among players is just a card that gets another card back from the graveyard, but it's going to be a lot more popular and a lot more powerful as these cheap, efficient threats see more play.
Speaking of like a nice cheap, efficient threat, here we see an excellent one for Mitch, slamming a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This one has been another card that's been performing really well in any deck playing red. It slices, dices, does it all. It really just attacks from a couple of different angles, getting you a nice body that helps you ramp out other creatures. Yep. But here we see Jude coming back, putting more pressure on with Lelia, the Blade Reforged.
And seemingly relatively okay with letting the Ragavan take the hit for this one, because if Mitch wants to block, he's going to take the hit from Lelia on 3. And then also has to give up his Goblin token, which was possibly going to make him more mana in the future.
Yeah.
But he has decided to make that decision. He's let go of the thing in response to the Ragavan. But Ragavan got a lot of value there. I mean, it hung around, it hit a couple of times, and got to buy it back, and it's definitely did a lot of work for that low cost.
Yeah, we see Mitch here discarding a couple of cards to Fable's second ability. So we see Barbarian Ring hit the bin. Mitch picking up a fresh couple of cards.
Yeah, and one of them being Kumano Faces Kazakhstan. Really nice card that we've seen for Mono Red. Mono Red's got a few pieces recently as well in that case, but this one, just a saga that dinks you for 1 on one turn and then allows your creature to come in with a +1/+1 counter on the next turn, and then just flips into a 2/2 threat. So.
And we see Mitch sequencing really well here. This is one of the things I'm really impressed by with Mitch's deck. He's got a lot of reckless impulse effects where he gets to exile a couple of cards from the top of his deck and play those spells out from exile. So we see the Saga here, ping Jude for 1, and then letting Mitch spectacle that card there.
Yeah, the... what's it called? Light Up the Stage.
Light Up the Stage, yeah,
that's the one. That's the one. So normally 3 mana, but 1 if you spectacle, and I think Mitch has no problem spectacling. So a little bit of a funny one for like blue decks. You probably don't want to play these red card advantage, but it is really nice that Mono Red has gotten a lot of really nice card advantage cards over the last few years for sure.
We see another famous red 1-drop, Zergo Bellstriker, coming there from the Karn's block. Unfortunately, it can't block creatures with power 2 or greater, I believe.
Yep.
But it's a good thing there to hold onto the Skull Clamp, hopefully get Mitch some more action where he can get back into this game.
It provides double duty. So yeah, my mind did go immediately to the way that Zergo could block, but of course Zergo cannot block in this instance. Not in a way that is meaningful. I mean, if the Delighted Halfling comes in, then oh boy, we're going to see something fun happen. But I do like the defensive Skull Clamp as a way to just protect yourself a little bit from removal. Because Zergo, I mean, it could get bolted, it could get more locked, as we see in Jude's hand, but it very well might not, because Jude does not want to let Mitch draw those extra cards.
No, and look, honestly, just a tight play from Mitch here, using up that leftover mana from the turn. If you don't have anything else to do with it, may as well put the Skull Clamp on your creature.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we see Jude coming in with the Eternal Witness and the Lelia. Lelia exiling a redundant land at this point, just getting another counter and really applying that pressure.
Yeah.
We see that tapped land coming in from exile.
And I think, I mean, there's no downside. I mean, it's like it's kind of annoying because obviously you want your Lelia to be also giving you card advantage where you can cast the card that comes off the top. But a tapped land, whatever. Jude just plays it out. More than happy to just get that land drop while they have the opportunity.
Yep.
We see Morlock in hand, but he might. It looks like he might actually go for it. Maybe might not even fight. I guess we'll see what happens, but we might just be making a really big Morlock.
Yeah, look, I think actually the interaction here is that Morlock is going to exile the Zergo, which means that the caveat on Skull Clamp isn't going to happen here. So that's really, really well played from Jude. Gets to take away that little advantage and just keep applying that pressure.
And leave a 4/4 body behind. I mean, Morlock, they just keep adding lines of text to Morlock, and it's surprises us each time. But another new addition from the Warhammer 40k set. And it has been seeing a lot of play recently as well, for sure.
Yeah, just like on its face, it's red-green X, comes in with X/1/1 counters. If X is 5 or more, you draw a card, and then when it enters, it fights something, and then also it exiles that. So it's just it does so much with such a really simple, straightforward creature.
Yeah, I quite enjoy it. More than happy to have those sorts of removal effects also attached to creatures, especially in Jude's situation, because a removal spell is only a removal spell in Jude's hand at the moment, but a Morlock adding 4 power to the battlefield, quite the formidable threat.
Yeah, you're so right. Here we see another exile effect from Mitch, trying to find some cards there to stem the bleeding.
Yeah. Reckless Impulse, this one being. So Mitch is playing the full suite with Light Up the Stage, Reckless Impulse, and Ren's Resolve, which is a new one as well. But see him taking full advantage of that, playing out this Ash Zealot. Interesting card, not even in its time in Standard, it wasn't actually getting that much play from its ability. It has First Strike Haste, but the ability says you shock an opponent if they play a spell from their graveyard.
Yeah.
But it's so niche. But Mitch, in this case, and probably in most people's case when they play it, is that they're playing it for the first strike and haste, not necessarily for the extra bits of text.
I mean, there's definitely times where it could be relevant, but you're not playing it for that ability alone.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We see Jude here getting ready to cast something big and juicy.
A little bit off screen, unfortunately, but I can tell that there is a Minskin Boo, and the sight of it was enough to send Mitch running home. So what are we expecting on Jude's side, James, in regards to sideboards?
So Jude has an excellent sideboard thing here. So I'll go through the sideboard quickly. Blood Moon, probably not likely to come in this match. Carpet of Flowers again for the blue matchups. Collector Roof. Depending on if Jude's played against Mitch, Collector Roof could be a card to bring in, just another 2-drop creature to stop the opponent getting away really, really quickly. We see a Fiery Confluence, another great way to clean up the board and deal some extra damage straight to your opponent's face. Force of Vigor, Fury, that card I definitely think is going to be coming in. Fury being an excellent card to clean out the board as well as a fantastic threat. Hunt Master of the Fells for a little bit of that life gain action. Magus of the Moon, Price of Progress, Pyroblast, Rampaging Ferocidon, Red Elemental Blast, Trinisphere, Unlicensed Hearse, and Veil of Summer. So I believe we saw Jude there thumbing through the sideboard, having a look at Trinisphere. Also another card to really hamper those red decks if they're caught on 1 or 2 mana. They just can't play any of their creatures. Yeah,
it seems that Jude does definitely agree with you, as he brought in the Huntmaster of the Fells and the Trinisphere. I believe he was thumbing towards the front. So he sounds like you're on the same page in regards to what Jude will bring in. On Mitch's side, we're still having a look, but he's playing a Braid Lithomantic Barrage, Maddening Hex, Magmatic Sinkhole, Mind Collapse, Pirate Spellbomb, Pyroblast, Parasitic Pillar, Reality Hemorrhage, Red Elemental Blast, Red Cap Melee, Shattering Spree, Shenanigans, Tormoid Script, and Unlicensed Hearse. And I ask you, James, how many of those cards have you heard in real life? Because I'm seeing a couple of them, Lithomantic Barrage and Mind Collapses, spells that I haven't seen before.
Mind Collapse is a really, really cool one. I've seen it personally in a couple of cubes. It's a great way to deal with some creatures. So it's 4 mana instant, which deals 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker. But if it's in your turn, you may sacrifice a mountain instead of paying its other cost. So again, a great way for Mitch to utilize extra land drops there. The deck is really low to the ground, so you only need 2 or 3 mountains in play to really start pressuring your opponent. So sacrificing one of those, not a big cost for Mitch here.
Definitely. And 5 being that really magic number sometimes in regards to Sheoldred or other sort of large threats that mono red typically does not have a very easy time dealing with. So I can see a Mind Collapse, perhaps even brought in this matchup. We'll have to wait and see. But Jude bringing in Fury, Huntmaster of the Fells, I think a Trinisphere as well, and sided out Endurance I saw, and then a couple of other bits and bobs. So we'll see how this sideboarding plan goes for each players into the game 2.
Yeah, excellent.
All right, notable flavor text from Mind Collapse. Good old rock, muttered Rorik as the shaking began. Nice old rock.
Excellent, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. See them shuffling up for their next game now. We'll see how Jude feels about that Collector Roof. I'm not sure if he brought it in, but I like what you were saying before about sort of snagging those utility artifacts. Can always be risky when your opponent's not an artifact deck of whether or not to bring in those Null Rod effects. But I think and funny as well, he didn't see the Mana Crypt nor the Soul Ring. So if Jude's in the dark, they might not even know that Mitch is on that configuration of points.
Exactly. Look, worst case, if Jude did decide to bring it in, it's a 2-mana 2/2, which blocks quite well, trades with an early creature, might stem the bleeding. As we have Mitch here, I'm assuming taking the play for game 2, hopefully off to a blistering start with their very aggressive deck. We see Mitch looking at a hand. We've got a Wasteland, Fetch Land, a Mountain. We see a Lightning Bolt. We see a Bone Crusher Giant, an excellent source of advantage there, being a 2-for-1.
Vishino Pyromancer sitting right in the middle of the deck as well as a Chrome Mox. So it's quite a quick hand. We could see an early 2-drop here, either this holding up Stomp if he's feeling nervous, or we don't even have to wait and find out, because here comes the Chrome Mox exiling a Lightning Bolt, and yes, Vishino Pyromancer. So just a 2-mana 2/1, I think, but it shocks on entry. So. Essentially has haste and unblockable for its first turn.
Yeah.
So that's a great start. Blistering, as you would say.
Another example of these kind of redundant red creatures. It may not be super impressive on the face value, but they always just chip in a little bit of damage, apply some pressure, and with a Chromox start here as well, just kind of jumping the gun and making. Putting Jude on the back foot straight away. Oh yeah. We see a follow-up play of the Bone Crusher Giant just straight away for its creature mode.
Yeah.
Big 4/3 that it can be painful to remove.
Not even waiting at all to see if the Stomp will be relevant. Perhaps Mitch is like, we saw his opening hand, it was not full of action, so perhaps Mitch is like he doesn't want to wait. He doesn't want to see if the Stomp can gain that incremental advantage. He just wants to put this 4/3 on the battlefield as soon as possible.
Yeah. I think if we saw Jude likes to use their deck to play some mana creatures out early in the game. We didn't see anything on turn 1, so Mitch probably suspecting there that the Stomp probably will be a bit outclassed. It's just better to put 4 power on the board straight away.
Yeah, 100%. And we see the Stomp mode being terrible now, and the attacking mode being great, because this Tarmogoyf, if I'm not mistaken, only lands in the graveyard at the moment, unless Mitch is hiding any secrets, but could have gotten hit by that Stomp, but it would only be for a very brief moment that he would have that window. So instead he's decided to attack for 4, and I think Jude's going to be quite on the back foot for the rest of this game if he manages to survive.
Yeah, Tarmogoyf now only just a 1/2 with a couple of lands in the bin. Jude there dutifully playing around that Wasteland by fetching out only basics, which, in a 2-color deck, really all you need. So not really hampered there by that Wasteland.
Dutifully, you could say.
I would say.
Beautiful. All right. Well, yeah, and where Mitch is in an interesting spot, because the Wasteland does provide a little bit of value, as you mentioned, but Jude is playing around it, and Mitch has got 4 mana on the battlefield and is not playing anything. So if he's not holding up any removal, then he might not be in a great place.
Well, here we see another play from Jude here. Reclamation Sage, taking out that Chrome Mox, adding another 2 power creature to the board. So kind of working hard to stem the bleeding here. That'll add another artifact in the graveyard for the Tarmogoyf. We also see a Shock coming out to clean up that board on Jude's side. So Tarmogoyf now growing. We have instant, land, creature, and artifact. So it should be a 4/5 now, which would now very well hold off the board from Mitch.
Yeah, and hindsight being, of course, 2020, might have been okay reasoning to get rid of the Tarmogoyf while we had the opportunity, but of course Mitch didn't know that at the time when he played out that Bone Crusher turn 2 on the play. But now this Tarmogoyf is definitely providing a little bit of annoyance for Mitch. He's attacking. He's not going to not attack, of course, but he has to give up the Bone Crusher just to get in 2 damage. And we see he's probably going to be trying to link up as much value as he can. Here's a very nice play, of course, just finishing that off. They couldn't do it by themselves, but together the Bone Crusher and the Fury that Mitch evoked out could clean up that Tarmogoyf, and he might be feeling okay now. He's empty-handed, so he's got to have a little bit more to finish up this game, but Jude's got nothing on the board, and Mitch is the one with a creature on the battlefield. But
here we see again that excellent creature of the Morlock taking care of that Vishino Pyromancer, and again, having a creature to stick around and defend.
Yeah, absolutely. It's showing its worth now, and I probably should have had a little look at Jude's hand before I opened my mouth, but that Morlock has really changed the game for Mitch incredibly, and I think it's going to be pretty hard for him to come back. Now, the tables have turned so quickly.
We see, unfortunately, the downside to sometimes these mono-red decks where they run out of gas really quickly, and unfortunately, Mitch has just drawn a couple of lands off the top, and not being able to deal with all the value that Jude keeps pushing out. The 2-for-1 with Morlock. We see almost a 3-for-1 here with the Fable of the Mirror Breaker making a 2-2. It's going to keep being relevant for the next 2.5 turns of the game.
Yep.
So Jude stemming the bleeding here and starting to apply some pressure of their own.
Yeah, I think it's a really nice time to be able to take a breather. Like the Morlock was perhaps even the corner turn, but it's nice to just take a breather, develop your board. Playing a 3-mana enchantment in most instances can just be a bit too slow against these mono red matchups, but it puts a 2/2 on the battlefield, which is of course great. But I think Jude's feeling a little bit safer now that they're able to take that turn off to put something down on the battlefield that will accumulate value over time.
We see here Mitch dashing the Zergo Bellstriker, trying to get in, offering the trade with the 2/2, and protecting it from other removal while Jude's tapped out, so that Zergo's going to come back to the hand at the end of turn, but we see the trade being offered there and taken up, leaving poor Mitch with nothing on the battlefield.
Mitch has performed really, really well over the last few events with basically the same deck, just burning people out, and I think that's obviously it's to me it's a sign of a healthy format. Is just if 20 lightning bolts can win, then the game's not that complex. But we do see here the downside, as you said, running out of cards, and I think something that Mitch's deck provides that other mono red decks might not is gumming up that board with our valuable burn creatures. But the downside here is that if your opponent plays a 3/3, or they play a 3/3 and a 2/2, or in Tarmogoyf's case was a 4/5, it's like half of your burn spells are now negated, and you're forced to do what Mitch was doing before he ran out of cards, which is just swing, and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, we saw earlier Mitch had to exile an additional card to cast the Fury to take out that Tarmogoyf. So essentially they're not only trading off his 4/3 on the board, but also discarding a card and getting rid of the Fury, effectively 3-4ing himself just to deal with that Tarmogoyf from Jude. So it's sometimes a bit of an uphill battle for our poor mono red deck, but here we see another land from Mitch and pass back.
Yeah, it could be the nail in the coffin for Mitch if he's having to just play. I think that was his third land drop, third land off the top for turn, and it's in a funny situation with the mana because we'd never hold on to the Wasteland. I don't think you're ever in a situation where you might hold on to the Wasteland in case you can hardcast Fury, but between his Chrome Mox getting destroyed and the Wasteland going away, it really changed the game to the fact that if Fury could have been hardcast, we'd have essentially a 6/6, a 3/3 with double strike, and that extra card that he had to exile. So really tough string of events for Mitch, and Jude's reveling now in this board state.
Yeah, look, and that is sometimes just the way that Magic goes. Sometimes you draw the lands. I mean, you do put them in the deck to draw them, but unfortunately, Mitch here hasn't had the best sequence of lands and spells. So we see Jude capitalizing here, playing out the Planeswalkers, again, another excellent source of mana advantage, and we see an Undermountain Adventurer and a Rampaging Ferocidon really to just solidify that victory home.
Yeah, 100%. And we're only attacking for 6 here, which is quite a lot. Mitch is holding on to hope. Life total's being pretty low. Like maybe you can just top deck. I mean, you only have to top deck this Arid Mesa to lock the game up. I mean, I was thinking maybe like big burst, reckless impulse into a couple of burn spells. You might have been okay, but we see here that the game has just ended because of Jude putting just a bunch of stuff on the battlefield.
Yeah, and look, excellent dues to Mitch there for sticking it out, trying to see what answers came his way from the top of his deck and making Jude play it out. So really excellent performance from both his players.
Yeah, definitely. All right, lovely. Well, that was our first game. Stay tuned. We'll have more for you in the future. But this has been CBR MTG playing some 7-point Highlander at Jolt Games in Canberra. So thank you to our people for playing. Thank you for James for joining in the commentary.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.